Hello, my loves. Welcome to this introduction for the Taurus New Moon Readings 2023. If you are new to my readings, hello and welcome in. It's lovely to have you here. If you want to learn more about me and about my readings and how to get the most out of them, there's a tutorial video linked in the description and popping up on YouTube. For those who are not new, hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here and continuing to play this amazing, fun game with me. To all of you, I hope you know how important it is for me, how special, how meaningful it is for me to be able to show up with you, for you in this way. What we're going to be doing is playing a game with our own astrology, the current astrological cycles, the spiritual tools of the cards to help us connect to the wise instinctive knowing that exists within ourselves and to help us to navigate our lives in a way that is filled with confidence, power, and knowing. So with all that being said, let's talk about new moon energy. What the new moon is the moon and the sun occurring in the same place in the sky. So the new moon energy is when the moon is dark and we experience this energy of a new beginning, something starting, something new that we are experiencing. The new moon cycle is always going to be offering us this new beginning. And as you start to tap into the different cycles that are happening astrologically and even within our own individual lives, you realize that there's lots of different points in our day that we have a chance to start something new. Every time we wake up, that's a new day, it's a new beginning. Every time we take a new breath, it's a new beginning. It's a new chance to fill us with air, with life-giving oxygen we've never had before. So I like to think of the new moons as a powerful new beginning, but I like to also remember that there's new chances and new beginnings and new starts available to me anytime I want to tap into that vibration and energy. So when we're celebrating a new moon, we celebrate the energy of whatever zodiac sign it's currently in. So the sun is currently in Taurus, and the moon, when it's new, will be in Taurus as well. This new moon is happening toward the end of Taurus season. It's happening on May 19th, and that is when the sun and the moon will be in the same place in the sky. And we're going to see the sun shifting out of the Taurus energy a few days later on May 21st. So a couple things to add in here. If you want to learn more about this Taurus energy, where it shows up in your life, how it expresses for you, I recommend the Taurus solar season readings. They're going to be a little bit of a recap for you on this Taurus energy and vibration. You may just want to watch the introduction and then the beginning part to your own Taurus alignment. And then, of course, on May 21st, we're going to be moving into the solar season of Gemini. So I invite you into the solar season readings as well, as the spotlight of our solar system shifts into a new sign, and we get to see where that sign shows up in our lives and honor that vibration as well. But back to Taurus energy. Taurus energy is determined, it's domestic, it's dependable, it's earthy, and it's loyal. It represents fixed earth. The fixed signs always happen during the fullness of a season. In the northern hemisphere, this happens during the fullness of spring. And so that is the energy, the archetype, the vibration that we are bringing in this newness, this new celebration to. So my readings go from one moon phase to the next moon phase. So our new moon happening on May 19th. We'll have the next new moon on June 18th. So this reading, this advice that I'm offering up for you is valid between that time, the May 19th to the June 18th period. Now, this reading is going to be based on which house Taurus is in your chart. If you do not know that information, that's totally okay. I have a reading guide here for you. If you know your rising sign, you can use this guide to find out which house Taurus is in for you. If you do not know your rising sign, you can watch my tutorial video for how to find your birth information on astro.com. You only have to watch it once, enter your information once, and then you'll always have access to your birth chart and you can find out any alignment that corresponds to any of the readings that I offer. So here it is. Here's the little chart that'll tell you whichever rising sign you have and the house that Taurus is in your chart. The color coding is by element. So green is earth, red is fire, blue is water, yellow is air. And then the shading represents the modalities. So the full shading represents the fixed modalities. The ones that are just outlined represent the cardinal modalities, meaning the energies that start a season. And the ones that are shaded are the ones that are the mutable energies, which happen at the end of a season when the other season hasn't quite begun yet. Just giving you a little bit more information. If none of this makes sense, you know what? That's okay. You can just let it wash over you and don't stress that you don't know what I'm talking about. But I always, with my readings and with my content, like to give you guys a little bit more information and understanding of these vibrations and archetypes. So find your rising sign, find which house Taurus is in for you, and then you'll be able to navigate to your reading. Now, the intention that I have set for these readings is to give you in particular, a practice in tapping into the wise instinctive knowing that exists within yourself. I pulled a deck that is very good at giving you specific messages and allowing you to take in what the words are offering you, what the message that's coming to you is, and allowing you to be your own interpreter of the information. So this deck specifically that I've chosen is going to help you to ground into reality, into your life with this new moon phase, a new way of relating with your intuition. Because we are in the middle of, or still under the influences of, the big solar eclipse that happened during Aries season. And for that eclipse, I really brought in information about, I offered new content. And now the Taurus vibration, second sign of the zodiac, wants us to ground this information into practical advice. And it also wants to give a physical practice for you to have a new relationship with your intuition, a new relationship with this content and understanding. So the deck we're going to be using is the Karma Cards deck by Monte Farber. It's a really cool deck. I'll explain how it works when we are in the individual readings. And I'm really excited to offer these to you because really what we're offering with this deck, again, is a space for you to encounter your own knowing and understanding of what the cards are offering you. And we're going to relate it back to the Taurus new moon, which is really fun. We are also going to be reviewing the information that came through for the solar eclipse readings in Aries from the Angel Therapy deck by Doreen Virtue. Okay, so we're going to be applying this card that came through for your rising sign. We're going to be applying it to this house that it's occurring in, because we've already talked about how it applies to your Aries house. And now we're going to be applying this information to your Taurus house. I know I'm talking a lot. If there's any confusion with what I'm talking about here, please just reach out to me. I can clarify. So we are going to be talking a little bit here before we jump into the individual readings about what is called the human condition and the information presented by biologist Jeremy Griffith in his book Freedom and in the interview, which solves the human condition and saves the world. This is a very big topic. I think it's the most critical thing that we could be learning in any stage of our development in life right now. All of our human family really can benefit from understanding what it is that Jeremy has discovered. And so I've been focusing the moon readings on really helping to synthesize this information and bring it to the people who are tuning into these readings. So as a recap, you can always watch the interview if you want to learn more. But as a recap, the human condition is this state which we find ourselves in as a human species, where we want to experience a loving, compassionate, selflessly giving world. And the world that we encounter is very competitive, very aggressive, very destructive, very angry, alienated. And how do we resolve this conflict? And how does this condition of what we expect versus what we experience affect us in our lives? So the key thing that biologist Jeremy Griffith has discovered is the origin of the human species. You might be familiar with Darwin's Origin of Species, but if you look closely at the content he provided, he studied plants and animals, and he developed a theory on how they evolved. He left human evolution development up to future scientists to determine. And what a future scientist has determined is that the evolution of our species, the development of the human race, occurred 12 million years ago when we started to branch away from our ape ancestors, and we lived in an altruistic, compassionate, cooperative, loving, selflessly giving of oneself for the whole community and species. Our genetic development and evolution as a human is based in experiences of this cooperative, collaborative, altruistic state for 10 million years of our adaptation. This is huge. This is revolutionary. We tend to think that we have an instincts that are animalistic, competitive, selfish, angry, aggressive, this survival of the fittest vibration. We tend to think that that's our instinctual nature, where Jeremy has discovered that our instinctual nature, our genetic-based programming, is in fact altruistic in nature, loving, cooperative, compassionate. This explains why we expect to encounter that in our world, and it also explains the complete devastation that we experience when we don't encounter that in our world. Now, why did we go away from this altruistic living? Well, we started to develop a brain that was capable of conscious thinking. We developed nerve-based learning, which allowed us to store memory and thus compare past events with a present choice that we are faced and its potential future outcomes. Essentially, we had to now learn from cause and effect what we had already genetically understood through the process of genetic adaptation over generations and generations. We developed this really amazing facility of the intellect, which helps us to adapt in the moment to present threats in our environment. Very good for our species, but it took 2 million years of playing with cause and effect, going against perhaps altruistic living and cooperative energy, to see what it was that was contributing to why altruism was the way to live. Okay, so I liken this to when you're a kid and your parent tells you not to do something because, and then you ask why, and they're just like, well, just because, right? I just know that you shouldn't do that. But you as the kid are going to be like, well, I need to experience this for myself. I need to know for myself why I shouldn't do that, right? So you go out and you do the thing, and then you realize, oh, my parent was right. I shouldn't have done that. Or, this was going to happen. And so that has been happening for the human species for 2 million years of our development. There's been a huge battle, upset, dissonance between the intellect and the instinct, and it's responsible for all of the suffering that we experience as a human species. On an individual level, when we came into the world and our environment was not loving, was not cooperative, was not nurturing, we experienced a great upset because of that. And when the world wasn't that way, we also were very upset. And one thing that happened to contribute to the suffering that we experience as a human species is that we started to think that the world wasn't cooperative, loving, unconditionally giving, that we weren't receiving the nurturing that we expected because there was something wrong with us. Okay? So we became psychotic, which really breaks down to, if you define it, it means soul illness. So our souls became ill when we didn't experience the world that we were programmed genetically to experience for 10 million years. That's a long time, y'all. And then our intellect goes into a neurosis, which literally means mind illness, because we started to create a story about why we aren't experiencing the unconditional love that we grew to expect. We started to think that it's our fault. There's something wrong with us, and that's a neurosis. So essentially, the human condition is the psychosis and neurosis of our race. And as we start to understand that our instinctual nature is cooperative, loving, and selflessly oriented, we're going to see the world going through an amazing shift and change. It's a new beginning like we have not experienced as a collective, and it is so bright and so beautiful, and it resolves so many, in fact, all of the problems that we are facing now as a species. There's so much more to discuss here, but I'm trying to keep these intro videos succinct. So if you want to learn more about this information, again, I recommend that interview. It popped up earlier in this video, and it is linked in the description. You can go to that at any time if you want to learn more. And I'll see you in your individual readings. As always, namaste. That universal light within you, or the universal light within me, salutes and honors that universal light within you. Namaste.